When a piece of art is made, something that's groundbreaking and new, it usually creates discussion about what it means and the application that it has for our philosophies and worldviews. Then as other artists have the time to observe and understand the original piece of art, they respond to it with their own artwork, sometimes posing a different perspective or challenging the meaning of the original art in some way. I believe that Christopher Nolan's Interstellar was made for that purpose, to offer up a different perspective and a challenge to Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Today I want to look at how Interstellar responds to 2001, try to decipher the meaning of both films, and ask an important question. Did Interstellar rise to the standard that 2001 set? The stories of 2001 and Interstellar begin at the same point. In 2001, we watch the apes as they do nothing of any real purpose. In Interstellar, it's the same thing. Humanity was once moving forward, innovating, but that has all changed. Now their goal is survival.
Well, we used to look up in the sky and wonder at our place in the stars. Now we just look down and worry about our place in the dirt.
And in both scenarios, it seems as though they are stuck in this position. Until a seemingly supernatural intervention takes place. In 2001, it's the appearance of the monolith. In Interstellar, it's the coordinates laid out in the dust of Murph's room, supposedly left there by Murph's ghost. This prompts movement in both films. In 2001, the iconic cut takes place, and we see that humanity has now moved into space because of the influence of the monolith. In Interstellar, Cooper finds the remains of NASA, the only people who still believe there is a way to move forward. And with NASA's help, Cooper is launched into space on a mission to save humanity. After this movement forward, both films encounter another supernatural occurrence that prompts them to move even further. In 2001, the discovery of the second monolith on the moon is the catalyst for humanity's movement further into space.
Seems to have been deliberately buried. Deliberately buried.
In Interstellar, the placement of the wormhole with habitable planets on the other side has given humanity the chance to survive.
A wormhole's not a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Someone placed it there.
In both instances, someone or something had to have placed the object of advancement within reach of humanity. The first act of both these films echoes certain similarities in the advancement of humanity because of some mysterious force working in their favor. But the contrasts between the two films are the most important part. For example, 2001 remains focused on humanity as a whole. We never really focus on a single ape in the beginning of the film, and when we meet our astronauts in the second act, we haven't created a close connection with them because we know so little about them. Interstellar spends its first act setting up the relationship between Cooper and Murph. This connection is supposed to become the most important part of the film. As both films move into the second act, the contrasts between the two films grow wider. In 2001, Hal is the robot that malfunctions and tries to kill the crew. He is seen as analytical, emotionless, and even evil. But as Hal nears his death, he shows more human emotion than the astronauts on the ship.
I can feel it. I can feel it.
Interstellar's monolithic-shaped robots nod at 2001, but are completely different from Hal. Tars, many people's favorite character from the film, seems very alive. He makes jokes and seems to show some sort of emotion.
Everybody good? Plenty of slaves for my robot colony?
Tars seems to be the anti-Hal, and I think Nolan wanted the audience to assume this, but Tars is not the opposite of Hal. There is a moment in the film where Dr. Brand foreshadows the future when she says that the only evil is what we bring with us, believing that nature cannot be evil, only humans can be. We meet the anti-Hal on a cold, barren planet, an astronaut aptly named Dr. Mann. The first time we see Mann, he cries, an already extreme contrast between Hal. As the crew speaks with Mann, he seems as though he can be trusted. Many of the characters earlier in the film mention Mann in high regard.
The bravest humans ever to live, led by the remarkable Dr. Mann.
But Mann, like Hal, turns on the astronauts. Mann tries to abandon them on this planet because of his own cowardice. This is another point where the two films deviate drastically. In 2001, there is no mention of Dave's family and friends while he is on his mission, because Dave as a person is not what 2001 is about. But in Interstellar, as Cooper begins to die, the focus becomes his children, and that Cooper's survival is necessary so that he can save them.
Do you see your children?
As Hal becomes more and more human closer to death, man begins to leave his humanity, sentencing the people back on Earth to die in the dirt. He believes the mission must be followed, no matter the cost.
This is not about my life or Cooper's life. This is about all mankind. There is a moment.
But man dies. Not by Cooper's hand like Dave and Hal, but by his own misstep. One of the most pointed reasons that 2001 and Interstellar are compared is that both films take a character through a celestial journey that no one else has ever traveled. Dave goes through the Stargate and Cooper goes into the black hole. What each character finds at the end is the defining moment for each film. In 2001, Dave enters an oddly human room. It is here that he spends the rest of his life alone, and as he lays on his deathbed, the monolith returns. This is Dave's moment of transcendence. The monolith, again, pushes humanity forward. Dave is reborn into something more than human, and we watch as he looks upon the Earth as something greater than what he originally was. I think the message of 2001 is that humanity has the power to become more than what we are now, but that means that someone or something with greater power than us must help us move upwards. In Interstellar, Cooper enters an odd building that transcends time. He can peer into different points of Murph's life. It's here that Cooper's connection with Murph allows him to communicate the vital information with her that allows her to save the people on Earth. The message of this film, as somewhat awkwardly stated by Brand earlier, is that love is a thing about us that can transcend dimensions. It is here that we understand that it was humans who placed the wormhole, and it was Cooper who was communicating with Murph. The second message of the film is that we don't need supernatural help if we only understand how much we are capable of.
They didn't bring us here at all. We brought ourselves.
As Cooper goes back to his home that now sits within the space station, we see black monoliths, covered with the faces of people. As if this is Nolan's final visual point, he is directly answering Kubrick. We don't need these big interventions to move humanity forward. We have the power within us already. Many have said that 2001 is a more universal story because it concerns the entirety of humanity. People have said that Interstellar's influence will not be anywhere near 2001's influence because Interstellar's story is much more of a personal one. I think they are right in the sense that 2001 will live on longer than Interstellar, but I think Interstellar gives a response to 2001. Interstellar says that it's not always humanity as a whole that has to push forward. Sometimes it's one man filled with love for his family that drives us all forward. Sadly, I don't think Interstellar achieved the level of film greatness necessary to live on as long as 2001 has. Part of that is out of the hands of Nolan. Too much has been done at this point. Film is no longer a new medium. Generations have grown up with films being a regular part of their life. Nothing surprises us anymore, and that is to Nolan's detriment. Kubrick had the ability to truly show people things they had never seen before, things they didn't think were possible on the silver screen. Directors, and really artists in general, are always stuck within their own time period. They are given limitations and advantages purely because of the time in which they were born. But part of the problem is Nolan's fault. Interstellar tries to do too much. It grapples with so many different subjects. Space travel, a wormhole, the theory of relativity, a black hole, even time travel. All supposed to be the backdrop of a story about both the love within a family and the survival of the human race, with a touch of romantic love at the end. There's a loss of focus. I love this film and I don't think it's a bad movie, but I think there are flaws within it that will stop it from achieving the status it could have held. But I also believe that Interstellar is the closest reach towards 2001 that I have seen thus far. I believe Interstellar is a truly beautiful film and one worth studying. It's important to think about how works of art relate to others and how each one adds to the overall conversation. Thanks for watching.